We start things off with a man breathing heavy as he walks down an alleyway, when he turns a corner and finds a door. Just as he reaches it, he puts his hand out to grab the handle and we cut to black. We then see our main man Denji, waking up in a small shack he calls home, stating that they better head off to work. We then see him begin to make his way somewhere, while going over all of his body parts that he's sold off to try and make good on the debt he owes. One of his kidneys for 1.2 million yen, his right eye for 300,000 yen, and one of his balls, to which he barely remembers the cost of. Then, doing some quick math, he realizes that he still owes about 38 million to the Yakuza he's gotten himself tangled up in. His, dog? Yeah, let's go with dog. That goes by the name of Pochita, then barks and he agrees with it, saying that it's about time they kill their target. He says that a dead devil usually sells for around 300,000 on the black market. He then rips the cord to his chainsaw dog and says hunting devils pays the best, as he prepares to fight one. We then cut to right after the fight has taken place. He states that this devil must have been a dude known as the Tomato Devil, and they need to burn the seeds in order to stop it from reviving. The old man he works for then tells him nice job, saying that due to the fact he knows this devil's body will fetch a good price on the black market, he'll pay him 400,000 yen for it. But then because of what he owes to the Yakuza and the interest on that, he'll be left with 170,000. Oh, but then there's a finder's fee and administration costs. So all up, after killing the devil, our boy Denji is only left with 70,000 yen, and after he pays his other bills, he gets to keep a whopping 1,800. Absolute baller status. We then cut back to his shack, where he's treating himself and Pochita to a nice meal of bread. Plain bread. And he's daydreaming about the fact that people usually get to put jam and butter on their bread. But for him, that's practically an unreachable goal, as he doubts he'll even be able to pay off the debt before he dies. And even worse, he thinks he'll probably die before he even gets the chance to have a girlfriend. He thinks to himself that if he could have one dream come true, it would be to hook up with a girl before he dies. We then cut back to when he was a child, and the reason why he has this insurmountable debt in the first place. His father committed self-deletion without paying the monthly installment he owed to the Yakuza. And on the day of his father's funeral, he was told that he's got until tomorrow to get the 700,000 yen together. Otherwise, he'll be killed. After the car drives away, he hears a revving sound nearby and sees Pochita for the first time. After being scared and falling over, he tells the devil that if it wants to kill him, it can go ahead, as he's dead anyway. And we then see that Pochita is hurt and bleeding out. Not wanting to just let it die, he tells Pochita to bite him, as blood heals devils, and so Pochita does just that. Denji says that his blood isn't free though, and they're making a deal where they help each other out, because he's decided that he doesn't want to die just yet. The next day, with the help of Pochita, Denji meets with the Yakuza and throws down the dead body of a devil, asking them to hire him as a devil hunter. He then wakes up later in the night, stating that he's too hungry to sleep, and when he can't sleep, he just thinks about his dreams. Explaining to Pochita that his dream right now is to find a girl, play video games with her, and fall asleep while cuddling each other. Just then, he begins coughing up blood into his hand, and he reflects that he vaguely remembers that his mother died from something that made her cough up blood too. Someone then knocks on the door, and it's the same old man from earlier, telling him they've got a devil for him to hunt. They drive over, and after arriving in the warehouse, Denji follows the old man in, asking questions about the job. The old man then stops, and another man stabs both Denji and Pochita with a sword to the back. The man then explains that even the Yakuza think about getting bigger and making more money, so they made a deal with the devil just like Denji did with Pochita, and we see a massive devil making its way into frame. The devil then berates the Yakuza, basically calling them idiots for the trade deal they made, where they get some demonic powers but are also turned completely into its zombie slaves, as it itself is the zombie devil. It then states that it hates devil hunters like Denji, so now it's going to kill him. Denji then tries to run from the zombies now chasing him, but due to the massive stab through his body he received, he isn't able to outrun them, and he ends up getting knocked to the ground and mobbed by all the zombies. While dying, he thinks to himself that all he ever wanted was just to live a normal life. Sometime later we cut to a dumpster, where inside we see Denji chopped up into bits.
That's my character! I'm the trash man!
We then see some of the blood leak off Denji and fall into Pochita's mouth, which makes him recall a memory of Denji where he mentions hearing that some devils can take over dead bodies, telling Pochita that if he dies, he can take over his body and fulfill his dreams of living a normal life and dying a normal death. We then see Denji's dismembered body beginning to form back together, and the two of them, in a dreamlike state, begin to converse for the first and only time. Pochita tells him that he always loved hearing him talk about his dreams, saying here's the new deal. The Pochita is going to give Denji his heart, and in exchange, Denji has to show him all of the things he dreams of. Denji then wakes up and comes out of the dumpster, surprising the zombie devil that he's still alive. As zombies come for him, Denji pulls the new cord coming out of his chest, transforming him into an absolute beast, and he goes the fuck in, ripping the zombies completely apart and killing the zombie devil. Denji then spends the rest of the night killing every single one of the remaining zombies. I guess that is one way to get out of debt. Take notes, people. Sometime later, the sun rises and we see a car pull up outside the warehouse, with 3 people walking inside, one of which being Makima. Makima. She sees the absolute decimation that's been left here, and upon seeing Denji, realizes that he's neither devil nor human. She asks him if he killed all of the zombies here, but Denji, barely able to stand, asks her to hold him. As she does so, he turns back into a human, and Makima gives him 2 choices. Either be killed by her right now, or basically become her pet. And as her pet, she would feed and look after him. Hearing that her method of feeding him would be getting him bread with jam and various other things for breakfast, Denji wholeheartedly agrees. We then pick things back up shortly after. We see a car driving down the highway, and inside are Denji and Makima, and she's got some cool ass eyeballs. After staring out the window for a bit, she looks over and asks Denji his name, and he excitedly tells her. Makima then says that there is something that she needs to tell him right now. She explains that from here on, he is in her care, and the only answers she expects from him are yes or woof, and that she has no use for a dog which says no. This kinda deflates Denji a bit, as he was under the impression that she was nice and he already kind of liked her, but he had no idea that she could be as scary as she is right now. Her mentioning of dogs also brings back memories of how Pochita is dead. Denji's stomach then growls, and she says that no one in her group has had breakfast yet either, so they will grab something in the rest area up ahead. Denji then mentions that he doesn't have any cash, but she tells him not to worry and that she can pay. She then proceeds to take her coat off to give to him, saying that he looks a bit suspicious as he currently is. And just like that, due to being shown kindness for the first time in his entire life, and due to the fact that she's banging, all of the crimson bright red flags she gave off just moments ago completely disappear, and Denji declares his love for her. We then cut to them at a little noodle stall ordering their food. Denji, however, is struggling to stay awake, due to the fact that the chainsaws cut him up also, and he's lost a fair amount of blood. Makima then asks him how exactly he ended up like this, and Denji states that he had a pet devil, which brought him back to life by replacing his heart. He then reflects on how he can't believe it happened, Pochita dying for his sake. Makima then states that this really isn't anything she's ever seen or heard of before, and what's happened to him doesn't even have a name. However, she believes him, stating that she has a very, very good sense of smell, and due to that, she can tell that Pochita is still alive inside of Denji, and not in a wishy-washy, you'll always be in my heart sort of way either. She says that his body now has the scent of both a human and a devil, which relieves Denji to no end, and he then passes out properly due to the blood loss from earlier. He wakes up a short time later, with the noodles he ordered in front of him, and he asks if it's okay for him to start eating. Makima then asks if he's alright to eat on his own, and working his brain cells into overdrive, he comes up with a plan.
食べれません。
She then feeds him the noodles for a bit, before Denji asks her what her name is, and after finding out, he asks her what type of person she's into. After thinking about it for a moment, she states that the type of person she is into is the Denji type. We then cut to somewhere in Tokyo, and see Denji walking around in a daze behind Makima, replaying in his mind the fact that she is into the Denji type over and over again. He loses track of her briefly, but she calls out to him, telling him that this is the Tokyo headquarters for the Devil Hunter Association. They make their way inside, and Makima begins explaining that the Public Safety Bureau has the best benefits and lots of paid vacation time. But all Denji can think about is the possibility of getting with her if they begin to work together. She then takes him to her office, gives him a uniform, and tells him that he will be introduced to his co-worker shortly, who is this sword-wielding dude, Aki Hayakawa. Makima tells Denji that he started working here 3 years ago, and that for today, Aki is the person he is going to be shadowing, meaning he won't be working with Makima. Denji, upon hearing this, throws a slight tantrum, saying that he wants to work with Makima, and Aki tries to drag him out of the room. She then comes over to him and tells him that if he does a good job, they will be able to work together someday. We then cut to Aki and Denji down on the streets, and Denji is harassing Aki, asking if Makima has a boyfriend. Aki then tells Denji to follow him, taking him into an alleyway where he proceeds to beat him up, before telling him that he needs to quit this job, and that if he shows up tomorrow, he'll kick his ass again. Denji asks why, and Aki tells him that he's trying to be nice, saying that people who start this kind of job without thinking it all the way through end up dead. The only ones who survive are the ones with real motivation. He says that getting into this sort of thing because he's chasing after a girl is ridiculous, and that he will just tell Makima he ran off after getting scared by some devils. Aki then turns around and begins to walk away, when Denji gets up, starts running at him, and lands a blow in a spot he knows will hurt the most. As he relentlessly kicks Aki in the balls, he states that today has been the first day in his life that he's eaten udon, gotten treated like an actual human, and even had someone pay for his meal. He admits he's not thought it through, but for him, it's like a dream come true, and doesn't care if it gets him killed. Aki then gets up and tries to fight back, but Denji goes for the old faithful attack once again, causing him to fall to the ground and pass out. Denji then drags Aki back to Makima's office, and after they briefly try to blame each other, Makima states that Denji will be joining Aki's squad, revealing to Aki that Denji is human but can actually transform into a devil. Makima then says that because Denji is a special case, he will be given special circumstances surrounding his joining of Aki's group. She says that if he tries to resign or becomes uncooperative within their team, Denji will be disposed of as a devil. Denji, not really following along, asks what she means by that, and she explains that the only way out of this job for Denji is death. A lot of ups and downs for this guy today. Boy, I sure hope that doesn't continue as this series progresses. Afterwards, Aki tells Denji that he will be living with him from now on, so he can keep a close eye on him, reminding Denji that if he runs off, he has permission to kill him. Denji, due to everything he's seen, then asks Aki if Makima is a good person or not. Aki says that of course she's good, telling him that she's even saved his life before. We then cut to the next morning, and see Denji absolutely chefing it up, using every single spreadable item in Aki's kitchen to make the perfect toast. We then get to briefly see the chaos this new living arrangement is for Aki, before they get called out for a job nearby, where they need to eliminate a fiend, which is holed up in one of the rooms on the second story of this house. Just for some context, a fiend is what you get when a devil takes control of a human corpse. Similar to what Denji is, but different. Aki then kicks open a door, and inside, we see this weird looking dude eating a bird, and Aki tells Denji to kill it, asking him to use his devil powers to do so. As it attacks though, Denji simply uses his axe to cut the fiend's head clean off, instead of transforming. Aki, slightly annoyed, asks why he didn't transform, and Denji gives this long-winded, thoughtful explanation about trying to lessen the suffering for the fiend by giving it a quick death. Aki then tries to drill it into Denji's head, that if they're hunting a fiend, you leave your sympathy at the door, stating that his entire family was killed in front of him by a devil, that the men down there are risking their lives to provide for their family and keep people safe, and that everyone is taking this seriously except for him. Aki then says that it's like he's trying to make friends with them, and Denji says that if there was a devil he could be friends with, then yeah, he would try, as he doesn't really have any friends. Aki then leaves the room, saying that he will remember this conversation, and we find out the real reason for Denji not wanting to transform into his chainsaw form. All of the porno mags scattered across the ground would have gotten covered in blood if he did. A real man of culture right here. He does, however, reflect on what Aki said, about him not really having any real motivation or goals, as from his perspective, he's already living the dream compared to his life from not too long ago. And after thinking about it for a bit, and then thinking about Makima, he realizes what goal he wants next in his life. We then cut to sometime later, with Denji and Aki in a meeting with Makima, where she states that she is assigning Denji a new partner, but warns him first that she is a fiend. Just then, in walks Power, and at first, Denji seems opposed to the idea of working with her, but he quickly realizes that she, as a woman, also has titties, and his objections quickly die. Makima then explains that Aki's group is an experimental unit, saying that the higher-ups will be looking to dissolve the team if they're unable to get results. We then cut to Denji and Power, up on the rooftops looking for devils. Makima had previously told them that they have to stay out of public areas due to the fact that Power's horns would draw the wrong kind of attention. Power, after running around for a bit, smacks Denji on the back of the head, demanding that he leads them to devils to kill, as she is hungry for blood, and Denji slowly realizes that he's been a bit set up by being made to work with Power, As they're sitting around, wondering where any devils might be, Power notices the scent of blood in the air and makes a beeline straight towards it. Elsewhere, we see a man on a payphone, letting higher-ups know that the imposing sea cucumber devil has been seen, and the areas around it have been sectioned off and evacuated. Bro, imagine dying to the sea cucumber devil. However, from the top rope, Power jumps off a building, making a massive hammer out of her blood before slamming down into the devil, completely obliterating it and reveling in the kill.